Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to askNK. Today we're taking a look at the new set of materials that the guys at Substance, presently owned by Adobe, have released. Now the whole idea here is if you're into making, cool fashion stuff, maybe you're working with Marvelous Designer, Cloud 3D, they are actually giving out some pretty cool parametric, procedural looking textiles that you can use. These textiles come in all shapes, forms and size, as you can go ahead and do some cool knitting, some pretty cool patches, and so much more. It simply goes all the way to even giving you some embroidery stuff that you can use. If you're looking for text that you can apply and also have some embroidery stuff, these have you covered. One of the main goals for this particular one, which they just released, is to mimic real life textures. So with all of this said, we're going to go over to Substance, preview how this looks, and also see which and which you can get for free. Then we're going to move over to Blender, create a small simulation, take this over to Substance and play with this material and see how this works. Last time when we talked about some cool things coming over to Substance, we did talk about that they created some parametric decals, some stylized materials, and also some new procedural. So what they're doing right now is they're adding these new 90 textiles to the 400 new material collections, and it's very interesting to see that the last time that this was made, which is the parametric decals, stylized materials, this was sometime on the 29th of June, and today we are seeing that we have a truckload of these things. Now the whole idea here is to actually simplify the way you texture, and I think at this point they're really considering the fabric and also the textile designers and persons that gets to work with assets that demand cloth texturing and all that stuff. We're going to take a look at how this is done, and I'll also walk you guys through certain things that you need to know. And for those who would be wondering if you can get a free copy of this, yes, there is presently 7 free versions that you can get, so we're going to talk about that as well. And if you're also looking at ways that you might want to work with some of these textiles, there are also some pretty cool ones, and we will talk about them in Substance. On the other hand, if you're also looking at these, there is actually 20 new decals that are mimicking stitching, patches, tears, and also surface printing. So if you're into things like this, you would find this one very useful. Now the guys at Substance are working, hard to see that they create tons and tons of material, so that if you're trying to work with these things, you don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time. And it's also pretty cool to note that if you're already an indie user of Substance Painter, will be able to get 30 credits every single month. So with all of these beautiful things here, actually you can see that if you're looking at this for clothing, if you want to simply use this as extra decals, you want to add some print extrusion, they have these things here, and they're just very beautiful. And trying to work with these things by yourself, trying to create these things yourself, might take a while. Now with all of this said, let's dive over to Substance Source. Now in Substance Source, you would notice that they are actually making some overhauling on presentations and stuff, and you can see how this looks. What we're looking right now is the fashion and apparel. So if you want to get any of these, all you need to do is just simply go over to the browse section, and if you're already logged in, you can get the free versions that are here. I think 7 of them are free, so you can also go over to this free assets and you'll be able to find these ones. So I'm actually gonna head to download them, and we'll dive over to Blender and see how you can work with this, and it's pretty interesting. So with Blender open, what we did is create a cube, create a plane, subdivide the cube, subdivide the plane, and then the next thing to do is to make the cube a collision and the plane a cloth. Simulate these, get what you want, and finally export these over to Substance. The first things you would notice is once you have loaded your file directly in, you notice that we have this backface culling, and I've already talked about this severally, that whenever you're working in Substance and you have backface culling, all you need to do is simply go over to the shader settings, go right here where you have the shader, and change it to PBR roughness with alpha blending. So with that done, the next thing which you need to do is to simply get the textiles that you've downloaded or the Substance materials that you've downloaded directly into Substance. So for our own case, what we did was just to simply drag all of them directly in, select all of them, and since they're all procedural materials, all we need to do is just make sure that they're all procedural materials, set this for current session, so that even if you're working with some other models, you will still have this one available within the import section. So with this done, we have Substance right here. Cool. So you can see what we have. Let's simply orbit around and let's change the lighting. Cool, doesn't look bad at all. So for this, I'm just simply going to click right here and make this only 3D. Now if you want to work with this, how you can work with this is very simple. Now the reason why we're doing this is, you know, over a period of time we've talked about substance, materials and stuff, and a couple of you guys have said, can you please play with it so that we can see how that works, and that is why we're doing that. So I'm adding a fill layer right here so you guys can see. And if you want to work with any of this, actually we're going to start with the fabrics, then we'll go over to the embroideries, and also we go over to the raised text. So if I simply get a simple fabric right here and plug this fabric, you can see what we have. Now these fabrics that we're having have various presets, all right? So you can simply select the preset type that you want. If you want this, you can get that. If you want this, you can get that. And if you want this, you can also get it. At the same time, you can make changes, you can tweak this to satisfy, or, you know, to get what you're going for. Another thing to note is within the output selection, you have various parameters that you can play with, so you can simply go through any of this and select them to suit what you want. You can now easily make, you know, embroideries like this, and it's not just making these embroideries, you can still make custom embroideries. All right, so the idea for the custom embroidery is very simple. What you need is an alpha map to drive this. Now how this works is extremely simple. What we're going to do is delete this, create a brand new one, and I will load this up. So let's simply load this one right here. So with this loaded up, you can see where this location is. Let's go ahead and make this 2D 3D so you can see what we have. All right, so from here you can change to star if you want. If you want to change this to the bananas, you can also do that. You can play with these as well to change the preset types that you have. If we want to simply get a custom one, how we can do this is simple. Scroll all the way to where you have custom mask, and you notice there's nothing there. You can now scroll all the way down and load a custom mask. Now one thing I would suggest is, before you get loading, try and make sure that you've loaded up all of the necessary parameters that you need. So if you need this within the normal, load this within the normal, and you notice it recognizes it and sees it as normal. Load that within the normal, and then you can also make your change to custom mask so that you can have that going for you. And once that is done, you can go over to an alpha, select any of the alphas of your choice. So let's say we want this particular alpha, or let's use the bell alpha so that you guys can turn on notification. We can load that right here. So once you load that right there, you need to also load this right over here. That way you'll be able to have the custom embroidery that you're looking for. The same way this applies to the custom embroidery is also the same way that this would apply to the text. So for the text as well, you can do exactly the same thing. So if we simply go back to where we have our imported stuff, which you can find by simply, if you go over to projects, if you go all the way around here, you might probably miss this. So one easier way, or one easy way to find this, is by simply clicking on filter selection, go all the way down and click on session, and that way you'll be able to see all of this. Let's take this out and turn this off, so you'll be able to see this way back. So for the text, we are also going to add that text right here, and I would load this over to the base color. So this is very interesting to see that they have actually baked this particular feature into text, so you can type in the kind of text that you want. So if you just simply want to type the word 000, that could be your text, and we can simply go all the way to the normals and load that as well. Let's get this one going, and you can also proceed to type the word 000, and you can see that happening here. Now these are not the only parameters that you can load this stuff in. You can choose to load these in all of the relevant parameters that comes with this. So if you want to load this for the roughness as well, you can get this going for roughness. If you want to load this for metallic, you can also proceed to load this for metallic. And it is very interesting to see that it notices what output selection you're plugging it to, and it will automatically just simply get those properties and those attributes out there for you. So this is about it. If you want to play with this, link is going to be in the description, and a huge shout out to the guys from Substance for making this possible. And there are a whole lot of materials that you can now get. So despite the fact that you can get amazing fabric which has been made and, you know, designed for your useful pleasure, you can also get the parametric one, which we have also talked about. Link is going to be in the description where you guys can see that. And we have also seen some amazing looking, you know, photorealistic materials from the guys at Substance. So these are very beautiful, and if you're trying to get into texturing and you're just wondering how to get some perfect materials, you can definitely go over to the Substance store and get this one going for you. So that's gonna be about it. I would like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section, and of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And if you're new here, it's gonna be amazing for you to hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or the next update. And until I see you guys again with a tutorial update, Free Friday, Tutorial Tuesday, tips and tricks, things like this. Peace.